PJ, what are you most proud of as you look back at the season?
Everybody's resiliency, just to be able to fight through everything that we were going through, off the court stuff, on the court stuff. I think everybody collectively, who was ever on the court, all play together and just play hard for each other, and that's all you can really ask for out of a group of guys, and I just was glad I was a part of it.
Of everything that happened, from the injuries to the trade to things we probably don't even know about, what was the most difficult part about this season?
I think just the injuries. Got a couple guys missing 25 games, Kyrie getting hurt. I feel like everybody that played on that finals team last year got hurt at some point during this season, so I think that was probably the hardest to deal with throughout the season. And I feel like if we don't get hurt, obviously the season's different, but it is what it is. You can't really get mad at it, but obviously just try to get healthy this summer and just try to get better.
With the weight of the noise that came after the trade, how can you just, as being in that room, how can you describe what that was to bear and how you guys helped each other cope through that?
Obviously it was tough. It was tough for everybody, but I think for us, just being together, all of us, it brought us closer. Everybody started playing harder, playing for each other, and at the end of the day, you knew every time you were on the floor, you had 4 other guys out there that were playing for each other and just wanted to win. And I feel like the trade made us closer as a unit, and we just obviously will cherish those relationships forever.
PJ, go ahead. Was there a turning point moment post-trade where things started to feel more and more positive?
It really just comes down to how we looked at it. You know, we weren't going to look at anything from the past. We were just looking about how we can move to the future. You know, there's a lot of things that we couldn't control, and we were just focused on the things we could control. And that's how we were able to, you know, stay mentally positive, which is, you know, hard to do in this time frame.
PJ, you're a leader for this team. I mean, you grew up here, you understand, like, the Mavericks franchise. Like, what is the pathway to things just being normal again, like, look like?
Winning. I mean, winning puts smiles on everybody's faces. At the end of the day, obviously everybody knows that. It's a long season, tough season, but we're very confident in the group we have and the people we have here. We got some high character guys that all want the same goal, and that's obviously to get to the finals and win. So at the end of the day, I mean, that's all our focus, and we can't wait to have a great summer and to come back stronger.
What are your priorities off season, both of you, personally and professionally?
Take time off, you know, making sure that, you know, mentally everything is good, you know, making sure that, you know, when it comes to playing basketball, I can do whatever I can at 110%, you know, not have to worry about anything else and just try to pour all my focus and energy into it.
I say just being able to see my kids grow up a little bit more and just being around them this summer, hug them, just be there for them, and just try to stay in touch with my teammates and just keep building our relationships and obviously just try to get better.
Kind of going off of that, for young athletes that are also getting into their offseason, what advice would you give to them about how to approach an offseason to get better?
You got to focus on your body. You know, take the time that you have, you know, focus on the things the little nagging injuries, the little nagging things that, you know, to take the little time, to take the little details just to get rid of. No matter if it's more stretching, more time in the pool, more time on the table with massage therapists, just doing what you need to make sure your body and mind is right.
You've seen pretty much everything in 2 years. You've seen the best of times, and you've seen this year.
Yeah.
What does it just? What have you learned about? Hey, there's a lot of luck involved in here, and you got to take care of business. But you know, sometimes fate lends a hand, or sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, you know, just going through all this adversity is going to make us stronger, because you know you can't continuously succeed without failing. You got to be able to fail to succeed. So knowing that, you know, we've been to the top of the mountain, and now we're at the bottom. It's just going to take us to come together as a team, coming together as one, so that we can be able to climb the mountaintop and get back to who we know we are.
Nico talked about how for 2.5 quarters we saw a championship caliber team. You know, and AD, Kyrie, everyone was out there. What is the confidence and feeling about when this current roster is whole, what the potential is?
I think I pretty much just summed up our season, what you just said, how we only seen it for 3 quarters. But I think it's going to be amazing. When you put those pieces on the floor together, I think they all going to work really well together. Obviously, we have some talented guys, and we all want the same thing. And everybody's hungry, everybody works, and everybody's coming here and is serious about their craft each and every day. So, like I said, I'm super excited for the summer. Can't wait to get better. Obviously, get guys healthy and start making a push to where we want to be.
When he talks about defense being the focus and the philosophy of that being the force behind the trade, can you see how things can be better than they were last year?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't win last year. I mean, it's not like we won the finals. At the end of the day, everybody who's always played basketball knows you have to play defense to win. So at the end of the day, I feel like we can be one of the best defensive teams next year. We have some of the best shot blockers in the game right now, and it makes my job easier, all the guards' job easier, just sending them to guys like that. So we have the sky's the limit for us, and like I said, it's just about building chemistry and just being together.
There was a report that there were some disagreements about your ankle at the time when it happened, and then coming back to that, can you just speak to the frustration involved when you're trying to get answers and you're trying to get back, and just behind the scenes with that whole process, what you were dealing with at that time?
It was really just waiting for results. Waiting for it takes time for after you get scans for it to come back. So just sitting in that gray area, that time waiting is kind of just it's uneasy. I feel like that's just really what it came down to. But whenever it came down to finally getting the results, it was a no-brainer of everybody making a collective decision. I feel like everybody, there's opinions, X, Y, and Z, but we all stayed together. We all were leaning on each other, and we all made a decision based off of how we all collectively felt.
Derek, what were your takeaways from the minutes that you had alongside Anthony Davis in the two big lineups, and how beneficial will full training be for you guys?
Just having time to, just understand, how he views the game, what spots he wants to get to, how he wants to score the ball, and just how I can make the game easier for him. No matter if it's me ducking in to give him a couple of possessions off or making everybody on the same 3-and-1 spacing so that we can be on the same page.
PJ, throughout your career, you've been pretty durable in terms of injuries. How frustrating was this year for you, kind of coming in, coming out?
Super frustrating. I don't think I've ever missed this many games ever in my life. So I think just me this summer, I just want to be able to work on my body to where I feel like I can sustain a bunch of stuff and just come back stronger next year. Obviously, it was a tough season last year, and just to be able to play a lot of basketball from getting here, obviously last February to now, I just think I need to rest for a little bit and then just get back stronger.
PJ, you mentioned spending time with your kids this summer. They see you putting in work day in and day out, but as they get older, how will you explain what it takes to dedicate yourself to your craft?
Bringing them with me. I just think, for me, I just want to show them by example. Each and every day I get up, even if I don't want to, and just come in the gym and just try to get better and work on my craft, and just show them hard work and just try to instill in them work ethic and just letting them know that everything around me is mine, and y'all gonna have to one day get it by yourself. So, yeah.
That's Shaq.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you, guys.
All right, go ahead, guys.
So tell us about today. Has there been like a meeting, or are you all about to meet?
Oh no, we already met. We just got out of a meeting, yeah.
Okay. And kind of what was the general message?
Pretty much the usual. Season, of course, didn't go the way we wanted it to. Had a lot of adversity, dealing with a lot of injuries. Of course, the elephant in the room, the trade. Talked about stuff like that. And then just, mindset of coming back next year and just being better. That's the main thing. Being better in health, being better in mental, emotionally, all of the above, for sure.
Daniel, how hard was it to balance all of the emotions involved with the trade in the middle of a season with the grind that is an NBA season like that?
It was tough, but at the end of the day, it's the job. When it comes to the emotion side of it, you really kind of have to bury a good amount of them because, the trade can happen and you might have a game the next day. So it's kind of like you got to turn the page pretty quick.
Gaff, you mentioned the adversity. When you look back, what are you most proud of this team for?
Oh, man, we kept fighting throughout everything that we were dealing with, whether it was injuries or just, in all honesty, just, all around obstacles that we had to deal with throughout the season. That was pretty much just the main thing. You know, we stayed resilient. We came into the arena day in, day out, no matter who was hurt, no matter who was playing, no matter who was on minute restriction. We came in with, you know, one thing we focused on, and that was just coming out and just winning basketball games.
And when it comes to the negativity that came post-trade, how difficult was it just as a player knowing, you know, that wasn't a decision y'all made, but you had to deal with that?
I mean, it was tough, you know, but I think deep down, like, we know as players that, like, I don't think anybody was, you know, trying to target us, you know, even though at times it felt like it. But we just had to stay strong for ourselves, for the organization, just in general, you know. So we just had to take it one step at a time. I'm pretty sure it was hard for a certain amount of people. But like I said, I mean, it's a business. You know, this is our job. Every day we got to come in, and we just have to kind of like follow suit and just be ready for, you know, what happens next, pretty much.
What is your number one off-season priority, personally and professionally?
Personally, just, you know, better health, mentally, physically, the main two things. You know, making sure all my people are happy off of the court. Basketball-wise, of course, just taking that next step and just, you know, my craft and just being better, you know. I didn't like the way that my last game this season kind of went, you know, and that was only just because, not using it as an excuse, but just trying to figure out ways to just get back into the flow of the game after my injury. You know, it was kind of rough at the time, but figuring that out, and then, of course, looking back onto this season, there's a lot of things that I can learn from it for sure.
Do you think next season will start to feel normal again, just like playing home games in the AC? Do you think it's just going to continue to be like this is kind of a weird experience?
I think I'm going to leave that up to the fans, in all honesty. You know, when it comes to me, everything is always natural to me, no matter what happens throughout this league, because like I always say, I'm probably like a broken record now. It's a business, you know. When it comes to feelings and emotions, I mean, yes, of course, it's something that, you know, you can have, but it's really not, I would say, paid attention to when it comes to just like, you know, kind of like an everyday thing for us. So when it comes to that, you know, you just have to come in and just have the mindset to just go out and play winning basketball and just be happy with it, for sure.
The trade notwithstanding, was this season a reminder of just how fragile things are in this league, and how things can change, and how much luck sometimes enters into it?
Oh yeah, I mean, it can change at the snap of a finger, you know. But we all, I think as players, we understand that, and we are always ready for it, no matter, you know, who we are or what team we're playing for.
Anything you're particularly proud of looking back at the season, either personally or for the team?
For the team, I mean, just, you know, how everybody held strong with so many bodies being out at one point in time. You know, I think it was at one point in time we played with 8 players. That's tough. You know, I've been in a situation when I was in Washington and we had a couple of injuries to where we only had to play with like 7. You know, it's not easy to just come out and just be able to play. You know, I think that game I played a full 48 minutes. I was destroyed the next day. But I give props to the guys because, you know, they came in every day and they did their work. They stuck to just like the pretty much game plan that we've always talked about, the philosophy that we always harped on, you know, just the chemistry and trust that we always talk about before meetings and film, so on and so forth. So, I mean, I give props to them because they came out and they fought every day, for sure. And just me personally, I really can't say, you know. The injury kind of, you know, I feel like set me back. And, of course, I could have crashed and I could have taken a step back and maybe put myself into a dark place. But I feel like I, you know, took a step in the right direction mentally, you know. Of course, there were lapses to where it felt like, you know, I wasn't going to be back in time or I wasn't going to be the same person. But, you know, I came in here every day and I stuck to my rehab program, and I just wanted to make sure that I came back as best as I possibly could to just, you know, be able to do the things that we did at the, for the rest of like the season that we had played, for sure.
What will you remember most about the way Jason Kidd led after February 1st?
What I remember most, I mean, he just came in and basically did the same thing that he usually do. You know, he came in and just gave energy throughout all his speeches that he usually would give, and just made sure that we all stayed motivated and encouraged. You know, there's a lot of stuff that was thrown at everybody throughout the season. So there's no telling when somebody was going to crack. There's no telling when somebody was going to crash or just lose it. And I feel like he was just like the first person to kind of like, you know, bring everybody back together for sure. And then everybody else followed suit after.
You think you'd lead this team in total minutes when you signed up for this?
Nah, not at all. You know, when I signed to the minimum, they said nothing was promised, and that was kind of the approach that I took all year. And obviously, you know, roll with the punches.
Anything that compares to what you guys just went through in your time in basketball?
No, never had a season with this many injuries and adversity, and you know, some nights, basically like 6 guys playing. You know, I've never experienced that in my career, and I think it's a testament to the character of the overall group.
When you think about the journey, specifically post-trade, what was the lowest point that you're most proud this team made it through?
Like I said, I mean, I think, you know, when we had to deal with both AD and Kai being injured, and like I said, we were just really short bodies. We had Kessler at the 5, stuff like that going on, and just kept fighting, and, you know, obviously had the playoffs in mind and was able to kind of make a little bit of a push towards that. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody just kind of stood in the foxhole and didn't blink and gave it their all.
Spencer, during that adversity, was there a consistent voice in the locker room, maybe somebody who stood out consistently and was a leader?
I think from a culture standpoint, Dwight Powell's a great voice in the locker room. His energy is unmatched, and then just from a true leadership perspective, I think Kyrie and AD are obviously phenomenal leaders, and you know, will guide this team where it needs to go.
How did you feel about how this season went for you personally? It was a big year, obviously, looking to the future.
I don't know, man. I mean, for me, if we keep it in a stack, it's always narratives. It's never been about play, and so we'll see what happens going forward. But I mean, you know, I came in, like I said, nothing promised. Led the team in minutes and assists, and had big games and game winners, game closers, stuff like that. Well, one was goaltended. That sucked. But in general, I mean, I think in terms of if you dealt somebody a deck of cards and, you know, starting, coming off the bench, playing, not playing, you know, sometimes it's 6 guys and, you know, suiting up for pretty much all 82 games, outside of a couple of DNP coaches' decisions, but just being healthy and resilient and all that stuff, I'd say I made the best of the cards that I was dealt. And I'm appreciative of the opportunity to even come here and be a Maverick again. You know, obviously the end of the season didn't go the way any of us would have liked.
Is there anything in particular that you learned about yourself?
Learned, I don't know, but I'd say put to the test. I've always felt like I was pretty resilient and you know, high character, work ethic, things of that nature, and I think it was definitely tested. So I would say maybe proved. I don't know if I, like I said, learned, but definitely proved some of that to myself. And, you know, I think going out and being productive on, you know, pretty much every night, whether it was scoring or passing, you know, to some degree had some type of effect on the game and just tried to help the guys. So, you know, that was fun.
Spence, any off-season incentives that you'll be involved with or can look forward to?
In terms of what, like
community work?
Community work?
Yeah.
I typically do the Cantor Fitzgerald day. I pretty much do that every year. You know, I raise money for my foundation to continue to do scholarship programs, things like that. To be honest, I mean, I haven't even looked that far ahead, though. Like, we just lost yesterday, so, you know, usually a couple days reset and get back to, you know, mobility work and stuff on Monday, clear the mind all throughout that week and put a plan together for the next 20 weeks on how to get better.
I know it's still fresh, but how would you just sum up the last 2 months and what they've been like for you?
I mean, it's been a lot going on for sure. Obviously the trade has been the biggest part of that, but I think for us as a team, most importantly, the way we handled so much adversity, from injuries to a big trade like that, having to mesh and gel together as a team and find a new identity. I think we've done a really good job, or we did do a really good job of that. For us to get as far as we did with everything that happened this season, especially with injuries, I think is a testament to our character as a team, and it's something we're going to look to build upon and grow upon going forward.
You mentioned the adversity of the season and everything, but for you specifically, what are your biggest individual takeaways from the season?
I think for me, when you look at it in the big picture, I think I'm very proud of myself with the growth that I've been able to attain as a basketball player, of course, but I think most importantly, with everything that happened off the court, obviously with the trade and stuff like that, the way that I was able to handle that, the way that I was able to handle adversity other than the trade, starting the season, I don't think I started off pretty well, from a basketball standpoint, and I think the way that I bounced back from it, the way that I was able to handle coming to a new destination in Dallas and being able to still try to make the most of it and try to help, the Lakers and then the Mavs now, win as many games as we could. So I'm just proud of myself for that and the way that I handled adversity, the way that I grew, both as a basketball player, but most importantly as a human too.
PJ Washington said that the adversity of the reaction to the trade really brought this group closer together. Only you guys can fully understand what that was.
Mm-hmm.
How can you describe what that weight felt like?
I think it's kind of like we got to grow up really fast. Really, you got to grow up super fast. And the fact that the trade happened, and us as players, especially, I know fans obviously are, they're allowed to have their opinions and allowed to voice their opinions. But us as players, we still have to play the game and we still have to do our job, which is win. And for us, we didn't have time to think about what if or what are we going to do. We just had to grow up fast and gel together as a team as fast as we could to try and put ourselves in the best position to win games, and I think we did a great job of that. And we got into a spot, especially again with all those injuries and the adversity we had, for us to be in that play-in game yesterday to where we had a chance to compete for a playoff series. I think is a testament to our character and how much we gelled together as a group and how much we have going forward.
How hard is it though, I guess, to be caught in the middle of that negativity when, as a player, you guys had nothing to do with the decision?
It's difficult, but again, we're professionals. This is what we do. We're trained and we're supposed to play through the noise. Again, every fan has a right to an opinion, has a right to voice their opinion. To us as players, to other people within the organization, that's fine. And our job is to obviously not necessarily tune it out, but we got to continue to play regardless of whether it affects us or not, because we get paid a lot of money just to play basketball, so we got to keep that in perspective through all of this. So that's just kind of the way I look at it.
What was your takeaway about Jason Kidd as a coach?
This season I had two ex-players as coaches, and both of them did a phenomenal job. And Jay Kidd in particular, obviously I think he is a Hall of Famer, but one of the highest IQ basketball players to ever play this game. And for him to be a head coach, and for me personally to be an observant person to see how he dissects the game, how he puts us in positions to help us succeed. I thought he did a phenomenal job. I really appreciated his effort too, especially with all the turmoil that was going on. I can only imagine what he was dealing with, obviously with moving players and trying to find ways to help us win games. And so I appreciate his tenacity, his determination to get us to the point that we were at, and I'm looking forward to hopefully playing for him, for years to come.
You mentioned the phrase, noise or turmoil. I don't know if you got a sense at all that you guys are playing under a cloud of any kind, but what do you think it will take for all that to dissipate?
I think it takes time first and foremost, and I think time heals all. But if we're being honest, I think that maybe that cloud, so to speak, will be there for a relatively long period of time, just because of the magnitude that everything that has happened, within this franchise. So, again, like I said earlier, for us as players, we got to be able to focus on what's most important, which is the game. And I think what'll heal that is not only time, but winning, obviously, is going to heal that as well. And so that's our job as players. That's our job as a franchise, as players, coaching staff, front office. That's our job to put all of us in the best position to be able to do that. And that's always the end goal for any NBA team, and especially for us, especially this next upcoming season. I think we're in a prime position to be able to try and attain that goal for us.
You mentioned being proud of the growth even that you've experienced even off the court, even in the midst of it thus far. Have you gotten a chance to acknowledge that for yourself or reward yourself, pat yourself on the back, or will you take time to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I always do that. I think it's important to be able to practice that even when you're in that adversity and that turmoil, and it's tough, obviously, when you're in the thick of it. But the only way is through, and so being able to be present and grounded where you're at, even when those things are going on, and being able to have a perspective. I said that earlier, just having perspective. For me personally, the growth that I've had and the growth I've been able to overcome this season. It's been a long season, and again, I didn't think I started the year well, but obviously we're at the end of the year now, and just looking back and seeing how I've grown and how much I've overcame and whatnot. So I'm proud of myself for that, for sure.
If you were not a basketball player, what do you think you'd be doing?
I'd be a pilot, probably. I love flying, so my dad's a pilot, and I love airplanes, so that's probably what I'd be doing.
What are your off season?
Become a pilot someday?
I'll probably get my license when my career's over. Yeah.
Not allowed to do that right now, probably.
No, I got to keep that contract intact.
What are your off season priorities, personally and professionally?
First and foremost is resting and recuperating. And then my brother plays for the Clippers. They're going to be in a playoff series starting today, so I'm going to be supporting him as well. That's important. I think it's going to be good for him to have an experience like that. And I remember when I was in his shoes, being a rookie, going into the playoffs, so it's going to be good for him. And then basketball-wise, obviously just continuing to hone on my skills, and most importantly, coming back to training camp or when we all get back together, just better than I was, than I am now. So there's going to be a bunch of stuff that I'll be willing to do, obviously, in the weight room as well. And so just the biggest goal right now is rest, recuperate, support my family, and then when the time comes to start working again, just be better than I was right now. So.
Will you be working out with Handy this summer at some point?
I haven't talked to him about that. I mean, I think I'd be very open to that. But Phil has, my first 2 years with the Lakers when he was there, obviously he was super complimentary of me, and I always went to him. Obviously, he has a big track record of being around and coaching and training, Hall of Fame players. Kyrie obviously was one of my teammates. We talk about him every now and then. So he's a phenomenal basketball coach, basketball mind, basketball trainer, whatever you want to call it. And so, I'm always going to try and have him in my circle always. And I'm always going to reach out to him if I have any questions or anything, any concerns or whatnot. I know he's going to be there for me. So.
You mentioned him following the Clippers. What kind of feelings do you think you might have following the Lakers?
I mean, I'll be watching him, but again, I think most importantly, I am a Maverick now, and I know that, and so I'm going to support my ex-teammates for sure, but I don't, I'm not holding on to the Lakers. I'm a Maverick, so that's a big part of my identity now.
What are some particular aspects of your skill set that you'll be motivated to maybe work on in your skills development work this summer?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, all the normal stuff. Obviously, I want to still try and be an elite shooter in this league. I think anytime you're a shooter and you can shoot the ball well from three, your value is always there. And so I want to keep that. I want to keep my defensive identity as well. So obviously going to work on those things. And then from something I really want to improve on, I think, is kind of like my handle, my point guard skills, playmaking, whether it's creating my own shot or being able to break down my defender to get shots for others as well. I think not necessarily a weak point, but that's something that I can strengthen for sure. I think my handle can get a little bit tighter, and I think my reads when I, playing in pick and roll a little bit more here than I did with the Lakers, and, watching that film back a little bit, seeing where I can improve, and just finding ways to continue to grow my game because, I feel like I have all the skills. I just need to continue to work on it and hone it in, and I think I'll be a great player. So.
Not to get super reflective.
Yeah.
You describe basketball as what it means to you.
It means everything to me. Obviously, it affects my mood on a daily, and sometimes probably a little bit too much. Just how the season ended, and I look at it, just how I approach, my game and my preparation. As how I approach things daily, and when you come up short on things like like we did last night, it definitely affects you, and it makes you think about. It's tough to sit with for a little bit, and especially when you turn on TV and guys are still playing, still out there having fun, and still having the opportunity to be the last team standing. I think that's the ultimate goal for a lot of us, and falling short this early is definitely a little unsettling, and nobody likes to have once you get past a certain point, nobody likes to have an early summer. So a long summer, I'd say. So the goal is to get back and prepare to get ourselves back playing, to still be playing in June.
On that vein, what will your off-season priority be?
Getting healthy, just getting healthy, and also just getting acclimated to the guys around me. You know what I mean? Just seeing where I fit, you know, and seeing how I fit, and just getting myself comfortable and situated. I haven't, you know, felt myself, you know, pretty much all year, just due to, you know, my real first time dealing with stuff that has, you know, just set me back a little bit. But we've done a great job, just, you know, just getting me back day by day, and that's why I wish we continue still playing, because I felt like I was finally starting to like kind of find my footing a little bit, but definitely a lot later than I anticipated. But you know, you learn from it, and like you said, just going into the summer, just making being healthy a priority.
Arriving when you did in the trade, after the trade, what did you see out of this team and how it reacted in the time that you were here, and what everybody went through, and their injuries as well?
Yeah, a lot of adversity, but a lot of resilience, I'd say, just with the guys that obviously that were, you know, super close to Luka, and you know, just obviously you could tell the impact he had not only on this team but the community, and you know, just it was an adjustment, you know, just coming in, and you know, you feel for the guys obviously, because whenever you make it to a certain point, like I had the same experience in Miami, where you make a run like that, it's bigger than basketball. The connections that you make are personal, and you know, and I have friendships to this day that whenever we separated, I felt, you know, it, you know, hurt, felt like a breakup, you know. So those are tough things to deal with that, you know, that you really don't think about from the outside. So I completely understand, and I commend those guys of coming in and still working, and knowing that's on their mind, and you know, and having everybody involved in that. Understand that's not easy to still go out and perform at a high level for those guys. So, you know, I have the utmost respect for the guys in this locker room, and how well, and the guys, you know, everybody included, that's handled that in a professional way, and still coming into work and trying to be their best version of themselves. So
those connections you meant, like with teammates on the team you made a deep run with. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Actually didn't know if it was that.
Yeah, everybody, all the way down the line. So that whole entire team I got really close with. A run like that, you go through a lot of stuff. You know, you go through a lot of highs and a lot of lows, and that definitely brings you together and creates a bond that you don't find often in this league, I feel like.
So you know what a championship organization is. In the short time you've been here, what is your viewpoint of the Mavericks in terms of being a championship organization?
I definitely think that we're more than capable of being one of the last teams standing, if not the last team. I think that we definitely have the personnel. I think that we have the guys with the right mindset. I think it's just being healthy and putting it all together are the two things. And the name of the game at this point of the year is who can stay the healthiest and who can stay together the most. You know, so I think that's a recipe of winning, and I think that we'll find that the more time that we spend together here.
What can you say about Jason Kidd keeping the next man up mentality, and obviously going through injury and being on the court, just how to keep this team together, always fighting?
Yeah, I think in a way you never want to go through like a season like this. Like, that's never the goal, but there are things that you can learn and carry over from a season like this, and understand things that work, understand that things that don't work, and also it kind of lights a fire, you know, under everybody with, you know, going into the summer. Understanding that it doesn't really matter how much talent or potential that you have, that you can lose to anybody any given night in this league. The league is hard. It's hard to win, you know, not only a championship, but it's hard to win a game. You know what I mean? And we're in a tough conference and with a lot of great players. You just got to come correct, and I think that'll be the mentality coming into summer, starting with getting healthy.
In your experience, what makes Jason unique as a head coach?
I just think you know, he's been there and done that, you know, at the highest level, and I think that he sees things not only as a coach now, but he can still see those things as a player, and the way that he can, you know, give us advice on how to navigate certain things on the court and how to look at the game in a different way. You know, he's just a super high IQ type of guy, and you know, we're really grateful to be able to still learn from someone like him with, not only his IQ but his experience.
Was there a certain moment that really surprised or impressed you from him?
I think just the way he's been able to relate to the players, like, you know, I kind of already knew that, him being a former player, but like just kind of seeing up close and personal the way he's been able to, from top to bottom, whether you're a two-way or you're the star player, he's been able to have that relationship, and the amount of time he spends talking to everybody too. I think the time that he gives the guys that are on the team is that's rare. I feel like, you know, they deal with a lot of things up top. He's got to make a ton of decisions on, you know, with the game plan or whatever it is all the way down the line, and having meetings with people up top, whatever it is, and especially in the midst of everything that happened when I first got here too, the way he's handled everything and still be able to create those relationships has been it's really cool to see.
What did the process look like on a daily basis to kind of manage the injury that you mentioned, and just what are some things that you learned from that?
I just think it's just, you know, I mean, it's what we do daily. Is you just hammering the treatment, hammering the rehab, and just staying consistent with that. And especially a lot of time in the weight room with just strengthening your base and your core, just trying to make sure you just get solid as possible before you get back out here. And like, they do a great job of, you know, of not letting the players put themselves in harm's way. Even though they obviously advocate always guys to play, and you always want guys to be able to have the mentality to fight through injury, but, you know, it's to a degree to where they understand that it could be harmful to yourself, and, you know, they try to avoid setbacks as much as possible. They're really good at navigating those things and trying to find a balance.
We'll do one last question.
Good.
Thank you.
Even better. Appreciate it.
Have a good time.
Y'all too. Thank you.